Hey folks, welcome back to Angelic Pretty. I'm Angelic, and today we're going to be going over Gothic and Lolita Bible Tea Party tips. This here is from the English Language Autumn 2008 edition. We'll go through all their tips together one by one, and I'll give my opinions as we go. They also have a couple how-tos, so I'd like to try those out as we go as well. Feel free to pause this and grab some tea and a snack if you'd like to follow along. I'm kind of curious as to whether or not they published this in the Japanese original. My headcanon is that this was passive shade towards us rude Western Lolitas. Realistically, I know that this guide would have been massively helpful for any Japanese Lolita making their pilgrimage to the Shinjuku Marui building, a wonderfully curated mall specializing in the youth fashions of the time. The Marui building would have tea parties for their Lolita customer base, so the likelihood of attending a tea party with complete strangers was even higher for Japanese Lolitas. Without further ado, let's hop into it. That's awesome that they got this band to pose for these photo shoots. They're so cute. I'll definitely put images of them up on screen. Alright, so the first passage reads, "A party is a social gathering, an event where like-minded people gather to eat and drink, whether it be a house party with friends or a party at the office. A party may also be a place to meet new people. By minding your manners and behaving properly, you can be sure to have a wonderful time." I agree with this mostly. There's nothing I even outright disagree with. But I do think being overly concerned with manners in some ways can hinder your time. I've seen a lot of new Lolitas at tea parties look like they might feel like a fish out of water. They're not sure how proper they should act and if their manners are correct enough. And on top of that, mannerly behavior varies so vastly from culture to culture that you'll never make everyone happy. I think as long as you're considerate and friendly first and foremost, you and the people around you will be able to be at ease. Before I get too nitpicky, let's hop into their details. First tip is about wardrobe. My favorite. The outfit you choose for the party should correspond with the type of party being held. For example, there's no need to be too formal for a party in a private home, but it would be wiser to wear something a bit more formal for an official event. It's also important to remember one's place. If you're simply a guest, wear something discreet as to not show up the host or an honored guest. If you're the host, it's still appropriate to dress in a modest manner, wearing something dressy at the same time not being too brightly colored. In either situation, as long as your outfit blends in, you'll be fine. I completely agree with the first part of this passage. You should always try to dress for the occasion. If it's your first meet and you only have one cord, I'm not talking about you. Get out there, go have fun. Otherwise, I think you should try to wear something that matches the vibe of the occasion or the aesthetic of the venue. If the host has a theme, it's probably for a good reason. So if they're putting in all that work around theming, I think the least you can do is try to show up wearing something on theme. The idea of showing up the host being too flashy or colorful, I suppose, is a little bit strange to me, because when I host events, I love when people go all out. To me, it's a sign of the utmost respect, even if that means they look better than I do. If you feel good about yourself, no one can show you up. Okay, so let's get into our situationally appropriate cord. My full cord today is Baby the Stars Shine Bright, which brings me on to an incredibly exciting announcement. I will be attending Baby the Stars Shine Bright's New York Fashion Week show this February 10th. I am elated. I can't even tell you how excited I am. So keep your eyes peeled for a video coming mid-February where I cover the event. On top of going to the event, I've got a couple little activities planned and places that I want to go while I'm in New York, so I'll probably record a full vlog for that. Make sure to subscribe if you're interested. Rule number 2, timeliness. Arriving on time is a basic rule of etiquette, by no means limited only to parties. Arriving just in the nick of time also isn't considered very ladylike. Try to arrive at least 5 to 10 minutes early so that you have enough time to check your makeup and appearance in the restroom before the party begins. I completely agree that you should always strive to be on time, especially if you're going somewhere that involves a reservation or some kind of timed entry ticket. And if you're going to someone's home for tea, I definitely wouldn't recommend showing up early as the guide outlines. Usually when I host, I end up getting things ready just about on time, if not needing maybe a couple more minutes to get my life together. Obviously, that's not everyone's MO when hosting. Because of that tendency, I'm usually pretty relieved when people are a few minutes late. I think arriving on time is good, but if you show up somewhere early, find yourself a little local cafe. You can sit down and take your time, make sure you're all put together, just like the guide says. Especially after a long commute. So I think on time is perfect. Any more than 15 minutes late and you're getting into rude territory. On to rule number 3. Enjoying conversations with new people is the best thing about a party. If you only talk to people you know, then you'll miss the chance for new encounters. Make some effort to actively approach and talk to those around you. When you talk to someone you've never met, first ask the person if you may join him or her. Then after introducing yourself, talk about a topic you can both relate to, such as the atmosphere of the party or the host, for example. I completely agree that you should try to be an active participant in the conversation, even if that means just actively listening. Active listening can look like when someone's talking and you're nodding. Active listening is just showing that you're actually engaging with the story, even if you're not contributing a bunch to a conversation. Not everyone is super outgoing, and that's totally understandable. Even if you're not able to actively participate in the conversation, active listening is a good way to show respect for the people around you, and a good entryway into a conversation. It can be really hard to wedge yourself into a conversation if you're not the outgoing type. So I would definitely recommend the first part of going up and asking if you can join a group or something like that, but don't feel the need to immediately start asking people questions. A good opener for any Lolita is complimenting their chord. If they're wearing something you like, you can ask where they got it. It's impossible to discern other mutual interests with people until you've taken the time to actually get into a conversation with them. So of course start with the thing we all know we have in common. Hopefully these little openers will help you get to that point. Whether I'm hosting or attending, I definitely like to make my rounds and try to engage with everyone. Because like the guide says, if you only ever talk to the same people, you do miss the chance for new experiences. On to the next tip. If there's a buffet table, take only what you can eat and limit yourself to 2 or 3 items on your plate. It isn't polite to take food for others, even if you mean well. In general, you should carry only 1 plate at a time, and don't reuse a plate once you're done with it. Leave it on a side table or hand it to a waiter if staff is present. So the first part about the buffet, obviously I agree with that. What's to disagree with? You know, take only what you can eat. Take only a couple things at a time just to make sure everyone else is able to get their portion. The part about it not being polite to take food for others could definitely apply too. I think this is something you really just need to be more considerate with. If somebody has limited mobility or, you know, some other difficulty, maybe anxiety, you're welcome to grab a plate for them if they ask. But I would definitely avoid grabbing food for someone else just off of the basis that you're not sure what they want. And the part about carrying 1 plate at a time, I'm not sure if that's like more of Japanese etiquette. You don't want to be too encumbered when you're walking around a tea party filled with people wearing expensive outfits too. It's best to only carry what you can carry comfortably. The last bit about not reusing a plate, I suppose if you're at a really fancy restaurant that might apply, but otherwise I would say you can probably reuse your plate as long as it's not extremely soiled. And on to the last tip here. There are times when your petticoat may inconvenience others. Try to limit the volume of your skirt by wearing a double layer pannier instead of a triple layer pannier. For example, when you move around, be careful not to knock plates and glasses off the table. They're not wrong. I had a bunch of people at my house last weekend for a little clothing sale as well as some tea and snacks. And we had a lot of people in here. I ended up taking off my petticoat because I did nearly knock a couple things over in here. When I'm walking around in tight spaces, another maneuver I like to do, mostly just to not get my skirt dirty, but occasionally for the convenience of others. Not a thing knocked over. So that's how I get on the train and get through really tight spaces. And now we have the how-tos that I just love. They look really funny, honestly. There's also a passage here about how masquerade balls started, which is super freaking random and actually touches on an assassination attempt on King Gustav III. Again, really random and seems to have absolutely nothing to do with this article, but it's there. Next, we'll learn how to look like a lady. I'm always down to take some new tips on how to move gracefully. So since I have all of this already set up, I'm gonna start with their handling objects tutorial. Alright, so the first thing is about how to handle a teacup. When you place glass objects on the table or a teacup on a saucer, avoid making a distracting noise. For a teacup, first place your pinky finger on the saucer to stabilize it, and then slowly lower the cup onto the saucer. So this is not typically how I would do it, but I'll show you how I do it after. Then they want me to put my pinky down on the saucer. Not too bad. Made very limited noise. Here's how I would typically do it. Same idea, definitely. You want to make as least noise as possible. Because a room full of 30 people just would be kind of noisy and obnoxious. The next bit is about how to add sugar to your tea. It looks like they also do that differently from how I typically would. So they say, place the sugar cube or lemon on your teaspoon, then gently lower it into your drink. Don't leave the lemon in your cup, remove it with your spoon and place on the side of the cup nearest to you to prevent others from seeing it. So for instance, if I did have lemon, I would hide it back here on this side of my saucer so you wouldn't see it. I'm not mad at that. That sounds nice for the aesthetic, so you don't have like what appears to be a table of garbage. My sugar tongs. So I'm gonna take sugar tongs to a spoon and then put this on the spoon, and then I will gently lower the spoon down into the tea. Now my tea has too much sugar in it. Give it a little stir. The way I like to do sugar when I'm making my own tea is have an empty cup. So the sugar is the first thing that you're adding to your tea. I like a lot of sugar. Then take your hot tea and pour that over the sugar. And this will melt a lot of the sugar, reducing the amount of stirring and disruptive things that you'll be doing. Give it a gentle stir, and the sugar is probably perfectly melted in there. Flawless. So the final bit of this article that we have to cover is how to sit. It sounds easy enough, right? So I'll move the table away and then I'll demonstrate. And now on to our final passage, sitting graciously. This is probably how I was sitting before. Kind of comfortable, but I don't think I look too bad like this. So keep your back straight and perpendicular to the floor. Leave 1 hand's width of space between yourself and the back of the chair, as well as between yourself and the table. So don't actually use the chair. Keeping your knees together and your legs at slightly more than 90 degrees will make your posture appear graceful. If you wish to tilt your legs to one side, make sure you keep them close to your body, no farther out than the width of your shoulders. So just don't... I don't think I could physically do that anyway. This posture reminds me of the Princess Diaries. You gotta cross that ankle behind you. So I guess the sitting advice isn't too difficult. I mean, I think the conclusions I so happily jumped to at the beginning of the video still stand. That it's important to be considerate and to be friendly and to try and remember your manners. But if you spend more time focusing on your manners than enjoying yourself and enjoying the company of the people around you, you're doing it wrong. So hopefully this video served as a nice basic guide for how to mind your manners at a tea party, and hopefully my advice will help to put you at ease when you actually get out there to go to one. So thank you so much for joining me in today's video. If you liked this, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. See you next time!